Hey everybody, welcome to Just Fishing. Today we are talking muskie, baby. I've got together a couple of good guys here that know a little bit more about muskie than me, probably, but that's okay. I'm not too old to learn, right?
Never too old to learn.
Nope. That's right. So what do you say? Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right. How's it going, everybody? I've got with me today two fine fellas who I've met down in the Lakeshore area, fishing Lighthouse specifically. I'm not giving away any honey holes doing that, am I?
I think everybody knows at this point.
Yeah.
Since I've got the camera on you, Jonah Vangeest.
Yep.
How's it going, Jonah?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming. I know you're a bit of a fixture in St. Clair, at least.
Yeah, I'm not even a local, but everyone thought I was a local.
Yeah, I thought you were local for sure.
I know. I'm just down there too much.
Yeah, well, it's a bad habit, right?
Oh, man. You just can't stay away.
And to your left, we've got Jeremy Vleeming. How's it going, Jeremy?
Good. Yourself? Thanks for having me.
And Jeremy, you and I met on the pier, I don't really know how long.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, maybe. Well, probably formally a couple years ago, I would say. But, I probably walked by you for a few years before that, before we ended up chatting.
Yes.
And I think we've had the pleasure of netting a fish or two for each other, probably.
Yes, very much.
Over that time.
Yes.
So
That's how you become friends.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. If you lose the fish, like you're out.
It's the ultimate icebreaker.
Yeah.
It's the friendship test.
The friendship test, yeah, the bad net man.
Yeah.
I'd like to do actually an entire podcast on the bad net jobs.
Oh, man.
I think that would be fun. Just blast some of your buddies that are.
Oh, we all have some stories, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I definitely do. Have you lost any at the pier with somebody?
Netting a fish?
Yeah.
Luckily, no.
Really?
No.
Okay. I don't know if I've lost any at the pier, like muskie specifically, but I've definitely lost some fish with other people netting.
Yeah, I've never lost any from netting someone else's fish at the pier or any of mine, but definitely on the boat. There's been some where it's just like, man, if I just reached a little bit farther.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's the best is when you've got somebody and they reach the net down and then the fish and the lure is caught on the outside of the net.
Oh, man, I've seen a few of those.
That's so painful.
It's actually funny because I think it was 2 years ago, some guy hooked a muskie and then another guy right beside him was like, I got one too. But they were fighting the same fish.
Oh my!
So the one guy snagged him in the back. The other guy had him in the mouth.
Get out.
And so the guy beside me is just like, well, that one's not getting away. So I joked, I was like, that will be the one that gets away. Sure enough, it gets to the net. The lure that was stuck in the back got hooked on the edge of the net. Oh. The muskie shook both free. Swam away.
Wow. That's brutal.
Yeah. I was just like, I shouldn't have said anything. I made that come into existence.
It manifested itself.
Yes. Yeah. I was just joking, but.
So are you stoked? It's January, June 1st opener.
Yes.
Will you be? I know now. You don't. I don't think you don't have a boat, do you?
I don't have a boat. I have a kayak.
Yeah. So will you be out in a kayak for opener, trying to sort out a muskie?
If nothing plans out, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'll be out there.
What would really get in the way with muskie fishing? I mean, let's talk priorities here.
Camping with my kids.
Oh, okay. Well, I can give you that.
But I rescheduled that.
You could do that anyway.
Yeah.
Do you fish opener, John?
Yeah. So I'll be at Detroit River.
Okay.
Normally I would be in the Corthas, but unfortunately.
You'll be jigging, I guess, are you? At that time?
Probably casting the weeds and then probably jigging a little bit in the afternoon.
I've never jigged for a muskie, ever.
Neither have I.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah?
When you catch one, it will rip your arms off.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty intense.
I would love to try it.
Same here.
How come you haven't been? You know lots of guys down there.
I was going to do it once with Justin, and then it just never came through. But I really want to.
Mm-hmm. I never normally fish opener. I don't know why. I guess I know where they are in the fall. It's just easier for me, and there's so many other great species to catch in the lake. But I don't know. I don't know why.
Detroit River in the fall, the last couple of years it's been tough.
Yeah.
Just compared to what it was like 3-4 years ago, you used to be able to catch them from shore a lot easier. I don't know if it's a water clarity thing or what it is, but
it's been tough the last couple of years in general.
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be the general consensus that compared to, I've only been fishing St. Clair for, 9 years, I think, nine seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think prior to that, as I understand, it was, way better.
Yeah. This will probably be my 10th year down there. Okay. And like even 4 or 5 years ago, used to just see so many more muskies get caught. Like there was days at Bell River, you'd see between everybody on shore, probably 60, 70 fish get caught. And all being like windows too. So you'd see one guy on the rocks, next guy. You're just like, what is happening?
That's the interesting thing about muskie, right? Like somebody will say, oh, it's getting close to the minor or the major. And sometimes I don't put any stock into it, but there's often times where, somebody says, yep, should be any minute now. And then, rod fires and then another one and then 3 or 4 more all in like 5 minutes. And then there's nothing going on for hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I journaled a lot of my muskie catches for the first few years. And especially anywhere else other than Lake St. Clair, I've noticed almost 90% of them were in a minor or a major.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah.
I know you pay close attention to them.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that I want to see if there is anything to it. So.
Well, you're still doing it, paying attention to it, so I'm guessing there's something to it.
It's kind of like a little bit of a motivation too, because you're like, ooh, the next couple hours, as long as I stay out for these couple hours, then something's going to happen when I come. But there's something to it.
100%.
Yeah. What is it though? I don't get it.
So like, it's basically it's what controls the tide in the ocean too. Right. So you have that same effect in the lake. It's just not noticeable to us. It's much smaller scale.
Yeah, but why is that though? If we don't have tides here.
Yeah.
Why is that?
The moon phase.
Yeah.
Gravitational pull.
Yeah, it's something, to be honest, I can't explain it either, but it's something gets them going. And you'll see it down at Lake St. Clair specifically. Like all of a sudden one gets caught and 5 seconds later another one gets caught. And it'll be like opposite ends of the pier. You're like, did these muskies coordinate that? Or like what all of a sudden just turned them on at that exact same moment to bite, right?
It's true. I'd love to know. If I could bottle that shit, it'd be worth a lot of money.
Oh, 100%.
So you're going to go out for opener. You're going to be obviously casting, I'm assuming, right? Because unless you got a buddy taking you out in a boat or something.
Yes, I'm going to be casting. So I'm going to be going to like Mitchell's Bay area with my kayak. And then since this is probably my first year outside of fall.
Oh, you're just you're going to just try the opener you normally don't?
No, this is the first. So I'm just literally going in there blind casting just to try to figure something out and just try to learn and stuff. It's probably not going to catch nothing, but it's going to be fun still.
I probably am not going to follow you then.
Okay. Sounds good. I wouldn't follow me either.
And what about you? You're going to be Detroit River. Do you usually go down with a group of guys or?
Yeah. So normally I would be taking my own boat, but unfortunately this year it got rear-ended.
Oh no.
I just brought it to the shop to get started up, have a couple things fixed. I pull out of the shop, get to the first red light. Lady runs right into me.
Oh man.
So dealing with insurance right now. And so luckily I have a bunch of buddies, and so my one buddy Andrew invited me out on his boat. So
what kind of boat do you have?
So it's a 17-foot Forest River side console.
Okay. So, I don't think I know that one.
Not too many people have heard of it. Like Forest River stopped making those boats, I think 2006, 2007, and then they only do pontoon boats now.
Is it like a deep V?
Yeah, it's like kind of like the Lund Pro Vs.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a mix between a bass and a deep V.
Yeah, that's perfect for St.
Big
Clair
casting decks. It was honestly a perfect boat for muskie fishing. And we'll see if I still have it, because the transom's not looking too good from that rear ending.
Oh man, that sucks. Like freaking drivers.
Yeah.
That sucks. Is that why you don't have a boat? You don't want to get rear-ended by anybody?
Well, I just kind of started getting into fishing. So
really?
Yeah. So COVID was when I first started.
What?
Yeah.
Muskie fishing?
Well, fishing in general.
Really?
Yeah. So
I just assumed you were like a fixture down there. Like
no, I got a kayak when during COVID.
Yeah.
And then just started paddling, and then I'm like, what can I do while I'm kayaking? So then I grabbed one of those kid Barbie doll rods and
pocket fisherman.
Yeah.
You're probably not old enough to remember the pocket fisherman. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was the little fold up, fishing rod made by
a company called
Ronco. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just like sort of unfold it, and it was only like 1.5 feet long.
Is it the one that looks kind of like a turkey baster or something?
No, I think I know which one you're. Yeah, turkey carver. Yeah. That's right. That's exactly right. It does look like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube of people buying them on eBay or whatever.
Yeah, they were like quite a hot item. Because you could stick it in your glove box or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I hijacked you.
So I went to Mitchell's Bay the one time and just asked my uncle what was one lure you can bring. He said a jig head with a curly tail grub, and I caught a bass, and everything's history since then. Like, got addicted and eventually, or right away. And
yeah, I think you have a far bigger issue than I do as far as addiction, and I've been at it for
I got an addicted
like
personality.
40 some years.
Yeah.
That's wild. I had no idea you.
Yeah, it's only been about 3-4 years.
Wow.
Learned so much.
Oh, it's never ending.
Yeah. The minute you stop learning,
It's a gigantic rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Really is what it is.
yeah, there's always someone you can learn from. There's a new technique you can learn. That's probably why it's so addicting too, because it's always new. There's new bodies of water which
Absolutely.
present a new challenge,
New species.
new species. Like, I love going for new species. Like, I'll travel. Like, this year I went to Quebec to try striper for the first time. And that was unreal.
I think I saw your post about that.
Yeah.
That is on my bucket list.
Yeah,
For sure.
It was on my bucket list for a long time, and then a couple of my buddies.
Was it awesome?
Oh man, they fight so hard, and I didn't even catch a big one. Like, my buddies there were sending me pictures of like high 30s, low 40s.
Wow. They're so strong, eh?
Oh yeah, they're like, this is what you missed out on. I was like, well, why didn't you get me on one?
So now you're hooked on Muskie, I take it. Is that your go-to? That's where all your money's getting spent?
My bread and butter. That's what I dream about at night is muskies. Yeah, and I didn't even start that until like almost a year after fishing it.
Wow.
And stuff, and then.
Oh, I totally gave you credit as being a veteran when I met you out there.
Like when I met you, that was my second year.
Oh wow.
And I've only caught 2 fish before then.
Huh.
So.
Wow.
He had a.
What's really sad? I think I was watching you for tips.
I wouldn't do that.
Oh man. I remember when I first got my boat, and because I live close to Lake Ontario, so I got into the salmon trolling thing.
Sure.
And I'd go out there and just trying to figure out things, and all of a sudden all these boats are following me. I was like, you guys are following the wrong boat here.
Exactly. You just drive out to a random spot on the lake, and all of a sudden there's there must be something going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you're going to be, we're going to be obviously down casting muskie again this fall, no doubt.
Oh, for sure.
I see you brought some baits with you. So do you want to tell me the story behind some of these? Like, what's the story? What did you bring here today?
So,
since we're talking muskie, we might as well talk baits, and you can just kind of hold them up in front of you there, and you will be able to see them well.
Yeah. So I brought this one.
Yeah.
It was originally all black.
It looks like you painted it.
It does look like I painted it, but no,
that's how it came.
It was all black, and then all the orange is just chip from the years.
Oh, okay. So it was orange underneath.
Yeah. So
interesting.
This is one of the first ones I got. This is the first bait where I actually caught a muskie on.
What is that called?
It's called a dingo, but Spro makes it now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I've never seen them before.
No,
Yeah,
was that Dingo is the name of the company or whatever?
yeah, it says right on the bottom of it, it says dingo. And I just went to a website and just Googled like what colors they liked, and I said black. So I picked up a black one, and then I also picked up a silver and pink one just because there was a YouTube video of some guy having good luck on a pink one.
And because you're addicted.
Yes.
Yes.
So I caught my first one on this, and it actually took me almost 2 months to catch my first muskie, which was hindsight like a good thing because I was one of those lucky people that catch a 50 first time or second cast or whatever. So I actually had to do the grind to actually get it. So actually taught me
persistence.
The actual sport of muskie fishing.
Yeah, I was really fortunate. My very first time was in Bell River fishing on the rocks, and I caught 2 the first day.
Nice.
And I was like, "Oh, this muskie fishing is awesome." And then I got skunked for 2 months.
Yep.
Like not one fish, and I was like, "This sucks." Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of buddies who they catch their first muskie and then they're all in, and then they realize that it's not as easy as it is. Especially fall at Lake St. Clair is a different thing.
Yeah.
Like if you fish muskies any other time of the year, it's not like that. Like you can obviously have good days. Like
Sure.
I've had good days in the Kawarthas, North Bay, everywhere. We had that good day in Quebec ice fishing. But
Yeah, that's
we had
cool. That's
2
cool.
days beforehand where we didn't catch anything.
No.
Like a tip
Not
up
even a
disappeared.
Yep.
How did you end up deciding to go muskie fishing through the ice? Like, how did that come about?
So I'd always wanted to do it. And then I ended up meeting a guy through Instagram, my buddy Simon. And we quickly became good friends, and he kept inviting me down. So
Wow.
first 2 trips.
And he lives there?
Yeah, he lives in Montreal. And the first 2 trips down there, I think we had a couple false flags, nothing. But I was like, I'm determined to get this done.
Wow.
And then they announced that this was going to be the last winter that you could do it. I was like, I got to make it happen.
So I'm guessing are they pretty lethargic like that time of year? Or are they...
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you would have just came on that Sunday where we got 4 fish in like 4 hours, then you would think differently. But if you were there for the first 2 days, you're just like, what are we doing with our time here?
Are you not panicking, like bringing one up through the ice of just like, rubbing the leader against the ice or
Oh,
whatever?
yeah.
Like...
It's the adrenaline's something else. Because,
Yes.
like, one, I've already done like 2 trips here, got completely skunked.
Right.
Now I have one on
like
here.
the pressure's on, yeah.
And, like, as a muskie fisherman, you know that this might be your only opportunity of the trip or the day. And you're just like, I got to get this fish in. And unfortunately, that first fish, so he saw the flag go up. I was walking to set up another tip up. He's just like, Jonah, flag. So I come running back. And tried to set the hook a little too early. He popped off. I was like, oh, man, that was my opportunity. And then maybe like 15 minutes later, all of a sudden, the farthest away flag goes off, and we had to run and run and run. By the time I got to the hole, I could barely breathe. I'm like, and then I got to fight this fish hand line. And I'm like, it was an adrenaline rush.
You probably had a defibrillator on by the time you got there.
Oh yeah, it was intense because it's not like just a couple people went. Like we had one day we had like 5 of us, I think, and we all just started running and stuff. So it's like a team effort when we get there, and we're all just huffing, puffing, and Simon is just like, breathe, breathe, and we're like,
well, there's no question that muskie fishing will get the adrenaline.
Oh yeah,
let alone with like a kilometer run in between.
Was it that far away?
Not that far, but
it probably felt like it.
But it was a good 300-400 meters at least.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you even see the flag going?
So we have binoculars.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And in Quebec, they have weird rules, like no live bait, but you can fish 10 lines per person. So between
Holy cow.
4 of us, we had like 26, 27 tip-ups.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So all day you're
chaos.
just constantly with the binoculars, looking around, checking.
If you were getting like a double or triple header, you'd be in trouble.
Well, my buddies have had that happen, and they just have to let one swim for a bit, and they try to get the other one in as quick as possible, then run over, grab the other one, because it literally is a 2-man thing.
Yes.
They've done it by themselves.
Yes, what? 2-man thing?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a very good thing to have 2 people. Yeah.
That's wild that you got to fish with binoculars.
Yeah. I know it's a completely different experience, like especially as an open water muskie fisherman, and not being able to ice fish them in Ontario.
Where are you fishing muskie at that time of year? Exactly, like what lake is that on or whatever?
So there's a couple spots we fish, but mostly they're just off the St. Lawrence.
Okay.
So the one spot in specific is all open water, but just the shoreline's kind of frozen. And some of these, like when we showed up there, they got a muskie right away. Like we hadn't even put our ice fishing gear on. And he's like, get down here, get down here. I was like, I'm not. And so they took the fish, and it ended up being a 47-inch, but it was in 3 feet of water.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, it's just like St. Clair. I mean, they'd be up, shallow in the water column.
Yeah.
That time of year.
It was very surprising, like 3 feet of water.
Wow.
And trying to get a fish that's almost 4 feet long to bend to come up that hole. I was just like,
that's a big question. What size hole are we talking about here? Is that like
they're a 10-inch.
10-inch
hole.
There's some that would have a hard time getting through that hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when you're pulling them up, you're just like, how's this thing even
They
making
barely
it
fit.
through?
Yeah, I love watching those. Like, if you ever watched the pike videos, the biggest pike through the ice, video sort of thing. I'm sure you probably watched some of them. Just like, how the hell did that come out of there?
Oh, I know. It's like the one that you got was really fat and big.
Yes.
And
Yes, it was.
He's smiling. He's remembering very fondly.
and I was just like, holy cow, how did that thing get up the hole? And then when you're holding it and to put it back in, I was just like, okay, it like literally took up the whole circumference of that hole pretty much.
Wow.
And as you're trying to hand line it in, you got Simon going there, big fish, big fish, big fish, and you're like trying to
Put the pressure on.
yeah. So it was so much fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I hope I get a chance to do that sometime.
Well,
you fished a bunch of places for muskie, eh?
Yeah, so I go all over. I actually just did a trip to New Jersey to fish with this guy who's pretty popular on YouTube and Instagram, DCam.
Okay.
So I met him last fall. He came up to fish with the blue collar guys and met him on the pier. And so he messaged me. He's like, get your butt down here. I was like, well, muskie season's closed here in Ontario. And I'm just
because
itching to get out.
very different. I don't know what the season is down there, but
So all their fish are stocked. So, but they say there's no natural reproduction, but they're finding them in different places that they never put them, and you can see them trying to spawn. Like, so the one day we went up shallow and we saw 2 paired off. So, and you cast in front of them, they don't even want to move. So we had to catch the ones that were kind of transitioning out of the spawn.
Right.
And we'd go just outside of those shallow areas to the deeper weeds, and that's where we found some muskies that were ready to eat. But yeah, that was a fun trip. Scenery was beautiful, fishing in the mountains.
That's awesome.
The muskie I ended up catching was actually right in front of Derek Jeter's cottage.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So you've fished St. Clair, obviously, because you're close to there, and you were in Quebec. Have you fished muskie anywhere else besides that?
No. So the ice fishing muskie was actually my first non-Lake St. Clair muskie. So that was pretty exciting.
I see so many posts of like giant muskie in Wisconsin and stuff like that, and I just wonder if I should maybe go there. Probably.
You should.
Yes.
St. Lawrence though, like it's a shorter trip than Wisconsin.
Yeah,
probably.
and it's just as good. It's a great fishery.
Oh my goodness!
I hear about it a lot, but I haven't.
So my buddy Simon, he's caught 57s, 56s, 55s, and not just like one. He's caught.
That's another level right there.
Yes.
Like I think last year he probably caught over 15 fish that were over that 53, 54 inch range.
That sucks.
Yeah. I've never even reached 50 yet.
Well, I know, and you and I have talked about that before, because I've hit 49 and 3/4, 49 and 7/8, 49 and a half.
Oh man, the 49 and 7/8, I've caught a couple of those.
God. I cannot get there. I had Gary in my boat, one time, and when he got that 52 and 3/4 in my boat, that was cool.
That's a big fish.
It was huge. That's the biggest I've seen in person.
Yeah.
So a 56, 57, that's...
My biggest is a 51 and a quarter.
Yep.
So that's probably already 3 years ago. I haven't come close to 50 since then.
I want to know.
That was my second 50.
I want to know what your secret is, because every time I turn around, I'm hearing, "Did you hear what Jonah caught today?" Like, so what's the deal? Like, what have you got going on? What's the secret in your tackle box, buddy?
I don't know if it's a secret. It's just I'm always adapting.
Persistence.
So, persistence is probably the biggest one, and then just I read the conditions, and I'm always thinking and tinkering. Like, for example, with the Cisco shad here, Landry gave me these, started throwing that on there. And because of that blade, I could actually feel my cadence. And so I could really dial it in because you'd feel the thump of the blade. And
so you think the blade is helping? Because Landry and I talked about that on a previous podcast, and he said he didn't think that you needed the blade.
I don't think you need it. I just think it really helped me dial in the speed with it this fall.
Okay.
Because once I had that speed dialed in, it was like I said, I think I only got skunked twice this whole fall. And
wow.
I had a lot of multi-fish days. And then there was days where people were like, "Oh, you're only catching them because you have the Cisco shad." So then I threw on the Lake X Toad, caught 3. I was just like...
I was there that day.
Were you?
Yes.
It's super annoying. Isn't
yes,
it?
and I didn't catch anything all day.
When you're on the shore getting skunked, and he's
on his third fish.
You got one.
Yeah.
Because you switched to a color similar to that.
Yeah.
But,
so...
Well, I guess we should give a shout out to Landry for the Cisco shad, because it's just been a phenomenal bait.
When he sent me that video last January, because he saw my YouTube videos and he's just like, "Oh, thanks for promoting me." I was like, "I'm really not promoting you. I just like using the bait."
Yeah.
He's just like, "Oh, I'll send you a couple of my new ones." Sent me a video of it. I was just like, "That's the bait I've been waiting for. Like something that actually looks like a fish.
Yeah.
Something that can ride high up in the water column. You can fish it 50 different ways if you want. Like
that's clearly the success of that bait is it's mimicking exactly, especially with that like paint color that you have,
like the shape of it,
on that right now. It's the
Cisco,
body, it's
right?
the color. It's a no brainer.
Yeah. And first trip out with it, we were out at Stony Point, and I got, I think it was a 46 3/4, just hammered it.
Wow. And
I was filming at the time too, and I was just like, "Oh, this is probably gonna be one of those days where I bring out the camera and nothing happens."
Well.
As soon as I said that, I was like, "Fish!" I was like, "Oh wow, that was funny."
I said I got 2 on my first day. It was on a Sherbert Shadzilla.
Nice.
When those were sort of, I don't know when they came out, but I mean, it was very popular when I first started.
Yeah.
And I caught both fish on it the same day. I was like, "Holy cow, this bait's awesome." I still keep it in my box. It does not swim anymore. It's just got all kinds of chew marks in it and stuff.
And memories.
And memories, yes. Yeah. But I keep it in there just,
Yeah, I got the retirement wall. So
do you?
baits that just either have caught a ton of fish but aren't swimming properly anymore, stuff like that, they get hung up on the wall. I got a couple. So I used to fish this really small swim bait that everyone would make fun of me for, right? And especially up on like Talon Lake up north. So my buddies fished it for like 7 years. They bring me up there. They're just like, this lake's really hard, but there's monsters in here, like 55s, 57s come out of here. I'm like,
count me in.
I was like, okay. They're like, we've only caught like 1 or 2 muskies here in 7 years. Like, why are we going here then?
Yeah.
But then they proceed to tell me like, oh, all the bass fishermen are like, we catch them on spinner baits. So in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try smaller baits. We get there, they're throwing double 13s. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're not catching anything.
Yeah.
I throw on that little swim bait. They're both making fun of me. First day, I caught 1, had 2 other followers. Second day, got another 2. And I was like, oh, you guys aren't making fun of this lure anymore.
Say, third day, they're not making fun anymore.
Where'd you get one?
That's exactly right.
And but that third fish just completely ripped the whole tail off. Those awesome. Fish up north, man,
they're aggressive.
I wouldn't say they're aggressive, but they fight so hard. Like this one was dogging me. I was just like, what? What is happening here?
You said you've been fishing them for 9 years?
Yeah, I think this is the 10th season now.
So how many places have you gone fishing muskie? I hate to ask you because I'm just going to feel really shitty about how many places I've been
to. Probably every lake in the Kawarthas.
Of course. Yeah.
Nipissing, Nosponsing, Talon. Been up to Lac Seul, Vermilion.
Yeah, I've been up there. Yep.
And then New Jersey this year, Quebec. That's probably about it, but just lots of different random lakes and rivers. I like fishing rivers as well.
Wow.
So I have my little John boat too. So sometimes I'll just, no one can go out. I'll just take the John boat and I'll go hit one of these rivers. And I just find it so much fun to throw a top water.
That's
just
awesome.
Watch these fish blow up on it. So
There's just nothing better.
Nothing.
I would love to catch one on a top water like in St. Clair.
That'd be sweet.
So
I've not seen. I don't think I've seen anybody actually catch one on top water like in the fall. And it's not the right time to throw one. I realize, but I mean, it seems to me that they're high in the water column. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, it surprises me.
Why wouldn't they do that?
Because like I've had it too, and actually I have one of the clips on my Instagram where I was at Bell River, and you know how you're high up on that wall.
Yep.
And so I was reeling in a Sabile super slow. My buddy was releasing a fish, and I'm looking down at his as it's swimming out of the net, and all of a sudden, boom, get a bite. And when I watched back the footage, my Sabile was literally like not even an inch under the water, like under the surface. And this muskie came up and grabbed it from the top and went straight back down. And it was one of the coolest bites I'd seen there. But I didn't even watch it. Luckily, I had the GoPro running because I'm looking down at my buddy who's releasing this fish. And all of a sudden, I feel the bite. I look and I watched the footage back. I was like, oh man, that was a wicked almost top water bite.
If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to reshare the story you were saying upstairs because I thought that was hilarious. You were talking about Buddy jumping in the water trying to rescue his, or I guess he fell in the water, but trying to bring in a muskie.
Yeah.
This year.
Well, it was one of the.
Maybe you don't want to name him. I don't know. You know.
We'll keep the name out of it, but he's one of the Asian guys down there that likes to keep muskies.
Sure.
So
we can probably through deduction figure out who that might be.
Yeah. So that same fish that I was just talking about that basically hit top water, I'm releasing it out of the net. It's swimming out, and I hear splash, and I'm like, and I hear everyone like, whoa, 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 and I look down the pier. I'm like looking down the wall, and I see this guy in a rear naked choke, like with a muskie, trying to stuff it in the net. I'm like, what is happening? So I quickly walk down there, and I'm filming it, and he's trying to stuff this muskie in the net. The muskie's biting his arm.
Really?
The lure's stuck in his jacket. I was like, this is crazy. And then he finally gets it, and we're like, just let the muskie go. Like this is like
because he wanted that meal badly.
Yeah, and
wow.
We're like, just let the muskie go. Like this is December. Like I don't know what the temperature of the water was.
So it's got to be cold. Yeah.
Like low 40s maybe.
Yeah.
Like something like that. And we have that buoy. We're trying to give him the buoy, and he just keeps pushing it away. We're like, just grab the buoy.
No, because he doesn't want to let go of the fish.
So he gets the fish in the net. He finally grabs the buoy. We pull him up. He throws it, puts it on the bump board. It's not even 44, so he throws it back. I was like, all that for nothing.
Wow.
But,
so I'm just trying to understand how this happened. So the guys hooked it up.
Yeah. So what had happened is they were both. So he had hooked it. his friend went to try and net it.
Okay.
The lure got stuck on the rim of the net.
Okay, gotcha.
And so then he tried to grab another net and like basically both scoop with it.
Oh, so he's reaching in with the other net and then,
while holding the rod, and I
Gotcha.
guess he lost his balance or the fish pulled or something like that, and he ended up in the water.
Wow.
Which is like a good 6-foot drop.
Oh, yeah.
Into the water, and
wow.
he's not a very tall.
You weren't
guy
there
either.
that day?
I was not. I heard about it. I did watch the video of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody fall in down there.
That was the first time
No.
I've ever seen that too.
Well, other than Landry, which I alluded to on the last podcast,
Yeah.
but that wasn't. He didn't have a fish on, so it doesn't really count, I guess.
yeah, this was funny too. Like I've had a couple close calls on the rocks where I'm trying to net a fish for a
Sure.
buddy.
Yeah, you slip. Yeah.
I slipped, and luckily there was a rock just before that I was able to like push my feet out and stop myself from sliding in. I had it one time. I was fishing the rocks by myself too, and I had this.
That's so treacherous out there in the wintertime.
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous. Actually, I don't like going out there.
Yeah,
that
that's
much.
fun. So I'm trying to grab him with the net. I'm pulling the rod up, trying to reach for him. He pulls just enough slack out that I got to put the net back down, take a couple more cranks, get him back in. And then all of a sudden I just slipped and I was on my butt. But luckily while I was on my butt, I was able to grab the rod back like that and get him in the net. I was just like, whew, that was a close call.
There was one time at Lighthouse, and I was fishing in my boat, and I was kind of fishing right across from the pier. And there was these two young guys in another boat beside me, and I think it was their first time muskie fishing. And they had caught a muskie. They had no net, no spreaders, no nothing, and no pliers, like nothing in the boat.
You see a lot of that.
Yeah, and I see this guy reaching down his place saying, "Be careful, they got teeth." And he reaches in and he grabs this thing, and it wasn't a huge muskie. He looked maybe 40-ish or so, and he brings it into the boat, and he's trying to unhook his bait, and he's got his hand like virtually in the mouth of the muskie.
Oh, jeez.
And I know, and all of a sudden the thing just thrashes. He goes, oh my God, oh, and you just see all this blood in his blood. Go, buddy, you're bleeding. Like, what are you doing?
That's crazy.
Like, they're so vicious. Like,
Oh man,
They are.
Like I've seen guys that show up at Lighthouse and they show up with like a minnow net. And it's like this one story in particular. This guy literally had a 50-inch muskie on. And
Wow.
he has this little net, and he's trying to like pinch the muskie against the wall and drag it
like
up. I was like,
scoop the head.
Yeah.
I was like, stop. Let me just net this for you. Like, what are
Wow.
you doing? I net it for him, and we cut the hooks and all that stuff, and he was mad that we had to cut the hooks. I was just like, I'll just give you hooks. Like,
Yeah, that's
the
crazy.
fish's life is more important than your hooks.
Yeah, they're definitely a dangerous fish, I guess, if you're not paying attention. And I'm glad actually to see, especially in St. Clair area where we fish, so much education and stuff.
Yes.
Guys are always, listen, this is how you want to do it. This is how you want to hold it. This is,
Yeah.
I think it's really good. Some guys are a little bit too forward in their advice
Yeah,
sometimes.
you get a bit of both, but that was one of the things that I always loved about that community down there. Was,
Yeah.
because like I grew up in Burlington Oakville area, the salmon pier fishing. Don't talk to anybody.
Is that right?
People are crossing your line. There's all that stuff happen. First time I go down to Lake St. Clair, people are running over with nets to net my fish.
Yeah.
They're like, you got tools? Like everyone was so helpful. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, that's what happened to me with my first fish. There's
Yeah.
a guy there that netted it and literally walked through everything with me, how to hold it, how to handle it, and everything. So it's a great community down there.
Yeah.
I said it on a previous podcast. Like, that's one of the things I love the most. I love getting out in my boat because, I have my favorite spots I want to go, like everybody, up in the mouth, somewhere. But I enjoy the camaraderie, just shooting the breeze,
100%.
telling jokes, razzing each other, netting the fish, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
That's probably one of my favorite things too.
it's the best.
Because everyone's always like, why don't you bring your boat down here? Because I just enjoy fishing with all the guys off the pier. And some days I have just as good luck on the pier as I do out
Yeah,
on the
it's
boat.
funny, you can have days where the pier is catching them all, or there are other days when nobody's getting on the pier and you
Yeah.
watch all the boats, pulling them in. You're thinking, like, what is going on here? But
I think,
it's definitely a community. I enjoy that. I think, fishermen in general, I think, are good people
yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. There's a few niche species that the community is a little bit, what's the word I'm like, pretentious or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say persnickety, but I don't know if that's really, I don't really know if that's a word or not.
But yeah, any of the communities, you're going to find like-minded people stuff that you get along, people you get along with, and just makes it that much more enjoyable. But yeah, that Lake St. Clair community was
awesome.
Was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you're just trying to figure out, how to do it. Like, when I was just starting, somebody like slow your cadence down, just slow it down. You're going too fast, or don't jerk it so quick, or whatever. There was lots of good tips that I think I got specifically at Bell River at that time.
Yeah,
because that's where I didn't fish Lighthouse honestly till really the last 3 or 4 years. I was always fishing at Bell River. I don't know why. I
prefer Bell River, to be honest. Like, I just like. There's more space. The fish are a lot cleaner as well.
Well, yeah, that was the thing for me. It's just the idea of like arm to arm.
Yeah.
Watching, having to do like synchronized casting.
Yeah. And all my 50s have been at Bell River, so it's just like
all my 50s. God. How many of your 50s were at Bell River?
None.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't. The first time
that will change.
Yeah. The first time this year was the first time I fished at Bell River, like constantly.
Oh, okay.
And stuff. So, and it's one of the places where I got multiple fish at the time too. So, and they seem to be bigger there.
Well, that's what I would say. That I've caught my biggest fish, with the exception of one that I got at Lighthouse this year. All my biggest fish have been at Bell River.
Yeah,
I would say.
Same here.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, like I've seen lots of big fish caught at Lighthouse, but most of mine, like all the 48s, 49s, and then the 250s, are all been at Bell River.
Now you got some other baits there. Let's talk about what else you got. Because we got sidetracked there somehow. I don't know what happened, but
so I got the same one that Jonah showed.
Yeah.
So this was the one that was really good for me last year. So that's the reason why I brought it. And then
looks like hamburger meat.
It does.
Because I think it's got a few chomp marks in there.
At least 10 on this.
Is that right? Oh, I can't wait.
And then I also have this Sabile.
Yeah.
And Jonah painted.
Familiar.
Now, I was going to say we should do a shout out to Jonah for the paint work.
So Jonah painted it for me. I asked him to paint it for me, and he did. But he took it one step further, and he wrote on the bottom of the tail for me.
Okay.
Which we had a little story last year. It says # Team Jeremy.
That's what it says?
Yeah, so he personalized it for me.
The shirt as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also have this Ridgeway.
What is that?
It's called a Ridgeway Custom.
Okay.
It's from the States. So Trevor,
cool paint.
Yeah, Trevor used it last year and did really well on it. And he asked me if I wanted to get one, so I did. And I'm really looking forward to throwing this one this year.
It looks to me like it would be primarily a trolling bait, but
you can. It's it's a twitch bait, so you can do anything with it. So that you can.
It does have a big lip on it, right? Okay, all right.
So the way that they say you should throw it is more like twitch pause, because then when it goes up, it shivers up,
so it's
back
rising,
up, and then it goes back down. So especially in the fall, like because you want it slow because they're not as active. So the little going up, and they can look at it, and then it goes away again. So it really entices the bites. So
that's cool. I like the.
I really wanted to try it this year, so that's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
And my buddy, when I was in New Jersey, he has the smaller version of that. He ended up hooking up with one fish, and it popped off right at the net, unfortunately. But
and I've been watching YouTube videos, and it's got a rep to catching them in the States and in Canada. So it's been catching fish like all over. So it's not really a well-known bait, but
like that color pattern.
Yes, this is one of his favorite one. This one is called Golden Perch. And then he also has one called Carp, or the most popular ones that they catch the most. But you see on the Facebook, if you like their page, a lot of them are caught in this pattern. And this is the one Trevor had too.
What did you say it's called?
This is Ridgeway Customs.
Ridgeway Customs
in the States.
it's a guy, Matt Ridgeway.
Yeah, and he just makes that out of his shop. So
are they expensive baits?
They're not too bad. Like this one was 80 American, but for some other baits that are...
I should have asked you first if your wife was watching before we talked about how much you were spending on baits.
Yeah. But some trolling baits, they get up to like $200-$300. So this one's actually not a bad, reasonable price.
Yeah. I mean...
He makes them. Like there's a YouTube video with Matt. He makes them and shows his shop. And he does all basic tools. So he tries to get it down to like the very basics and how you make a bait. He doesn't want it fancy. He just wants it to catch fish.
Yep.
Keep them at a right price range for people and stuff. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Yeah, and I got a couple other ones. I got a Night Rider one, and then a perch one. So, looking forward to throwing that.
You do have an addiction.
I do. Not a good one.
It would have been cheaper to become a bass fisherman, probably.
Yes.
Like when I first met Jeremy this fall, He's like, yeah, I've only been muskie fishing, what did you say, 2 years at that time? He opens up his trunk and he's got
14 boxes.
Yeah, I was just like, holy smokes, you got more baits than I do.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why I thought you've been doing it for so long, because I saw what was in your trunk.
Well, it was hard at first when
He's trying not to smile now. When
with
he
any
justifies it.
Any sport you go into, it's like, what do I get?
Yes.
What do I like and stuff like that. So I'm a very person that likes to experiment with a lot of different things and stuff. So and different colors. So I just kind of went a little crazy and just bought all of it. Just to try to test out everything, and now,
money.
But in the last year, I've sold a lot too. Just trying to find my knack and what suits me, and then just kind of narrow it down to that. But again, I've only done Lake St. Clair in the fall, so there's definitely other fisheries where there's different baits and stuff. But
when you start getting into trolling baits and stuff, then didn't you have another entire box with all your Lokies and your all that stuff?
Another rabbit hole.
There goes $30,000.
No, I know. That's probably why I don't chase them in the summer. I do have a box of a lot of those trolling baits and ziggies and stuff.
Yeah,
but I just know if I start really doing it and start catching some, I'm going to do exactly what you just did, but with trolling baits.
Yeah. And now when you buy more than one, it's like $300 for another one, $300 for another color pattern of that same lure.
Just to clarify, I'm not buying those $300 baits.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's coming. Don't worry. That's what you ask your wife. She says, "What do you want for your birthday?" You say a $300 bait.
I said the same thing, and then the last year and a bit, I've kind of gotten into the glide bait game. And
that's one thing I've never thrown, actually.
Oh, it's like one of my favorite ways to catch them.
Really?
It's just so versatile. Like you can burn them, and then they do this and then pause, and then that pause, the muskie will come up and smash it.
And is that because it's just like is it neutral buoyant, or is it sinking, or
so some of them can be sinking, some of them are kind of that neutral buoyant, some of them are very slow sink. So if you were to cast it out there, you could literally count 5 seconds and it probably only dropped 2 feet. And so they're really good for staying above weeds, stuff like that. Plus, they just have that natural swimming action to them.
So you would consider like a Suic or something? Is that kind of, or would that be called like a dive and rise?
That'd be more of a dive and rise.
Okay.
The glide baits kind of look like that, but usually they're either one whole piece or just one joint. And so I like the ones that have the one joint in the middle, and you can just get that side to side action, pause it. You can chop it, so you just do a quick reel, pause, and it'll dart this way. Do another quick reel, it goes the other way. So you can fish it super slow, you can fish it super fast. Yeah. And it's just one of those ones that keeps you distracted because you're always thinking about your retrieve. And
you can just be sort of erratic and just
and
all kinds of different
always change it up.
I probably shouldn't look at any of those. Probably not.
So you can find reasonable ones, but like when you go to the Muskie Odyssey and you see some of these wooden ones, and you're just like, kind of want to buy that. So.
That was probably the biggest mistake I made, is having a booth at the Odyssey, because I bought so much stuff. Like before it even opened, I went around to every table. I was like, I'll take some of those. Some of these. So.
That was my first Odyssey, last one.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming.
It is.
Just see how much you can load into your box.
Yeah. So I was helping Landry, so I kind of got lucky that during the morning I wasn't able to do any shopping.
Yes. Yeah, that's lucky.
And so afterwards, I was just like, okay, that kind of limited me. I ended up not doing too bad. Spent like $300.
That's pretty. Actually, that's pretty reasonable considering.
Yeah, I spent more than that at the Landry's booth.
Did you?
Yeah, and I was like fifth in line, and there was like so many people grabbing them, and Jonah's looking there, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, help me, help me.
Please make sure I get one.
I can't do anything.
Yeah, so literally everyone's just like, put some aside for me. I can't, man. I can't even put any aside for myself.
So I don't know how old your girls are, but have you? I mean, you're starting to get them into fishing a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you think you'll take them muskie fishing?
My youngest. My oldest is 13.
Okay.
And then my youngest is 9. My 13-year-old, no ambition to do fishing at all. My youngest one, she's going to be my fisherman. Or fisher person.
Yeah. That'd be so cool having a daughter as a fishing buddy.
So she's mentioned it that she wanted to come out and stuff, but I'm like, just wait till you get a little bit older and stuff, because I don't want the fish to be pulling you in, and because they're strong. And
I was just thinking about all the sarcasm and comments at the pier that she's going to be subjected to.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might want to avoid the pier for a bit.
Yeah. So, but I did get her out on a kayak last weekend, so that's first step. And
nice.
She does have her own fishing pole. We went to fishing a couple weeks ago, and Didn't catch anything, but her skills are definitely improving, and she's really enjoying just the art of casting and everything. So
So what keeps you drawn into muskie fishing? Is it the elusive 50-inch that we've been talking about, or is it just that rush?
the adventure,
Yeah,
the grind.
the grind.
I love the grind.
Really?
Some people don't.
Like 6 hours, your back blown out, and then
I love it. It's just that's what makes the story, and like
It's true.
It is like
you certainly don't want to be a fair weather fisherman if you want to be a muskie guy.
Like even when we were in Quebec, Jonah and I, like the third day, we felt so defeated, and we wake up and I'm looking at Jonah and I'm like, "This is gonna be a special day," and he's like, "Yeah."
I was like, "We need a miracle."
And then we sat there and we were sitting
and then
there.
Suddenly the clouds open up.
Yeah,
That's pretty much how it went. Like
Is that right?
4 muskies in, like it could have been 5 too in
That's
a
awesome.
matter of 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, so we had a lineup. So Jonah was first, and then I was second.
Yeah.
So the first 2 days, I was just waiting for Jonah to catch a fish and stuff. So just before the lights came on, Jonah looked at me, he's like, "Yeah, we need a miracle." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." And then he caught the first one, and then mine was like an hour later. And I just love the grind. Like, not many people do.
I don't know if I like the grind. I mean, I do and I don't. It's the anticipation of knowing that if I put in the hours, it's going to happen.
And it's just the reward with these fish too, right? Like that big fish. I just love everything about it. Like throwing the big baits. I think they're the coolest looking fish too. It's just something about them. I just love them.
And it's just the feeling like after the grind, like even in the fall time, Jonah was on a boat and I'm texting him like, "Man, it's been 3 days for me." He's like, "You'll get it." And then once you finally catch that, and it was like my first tiger, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so worth it. And you just forget about the grind and
It's so true. Yeah. Well, it's like, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but like, a pregnant woman who's just carrying it, her feet are sore and her back is killing her. And then the second the baby pops out, it didn't even happen. The rest of that stuff didn't exist. And I guess muskie fishing is kind of our baby.
Yeah, as soon as you catch that fish, you completely forget about all the hours you just spent.
That's true.
The 2 days you got skunked. Like after that Quebec trip, I'm just like, you don't even think about the 2 days beforehand where you're just like, what are we doing?
And I've done like marathon training and stuff before, so I'm used to the grind, so it relates to that as well. So yeah, just something about it. Like I can go like 4 days without catching fish, and it's frustrating. But then when you look back at it, you're just like, that was awesome.
Well, yeah, but like you say, you're sitting there and you're shooting the breeze with everybody, and it's like hanging out on a Friday night with some buddies, right?
Yeah.
I think if you didn't have that, if you were just standing there by yourself, it would be a lot tougher for 4 days. I don't think you'd make it.
And
Maybe
like
you would.
Some of those trips, like up to North Bay and stuff like that, it's just you and one other buddy, and like it's just quiet in the boat for 2 days straight. Like you don't even want to talk. You're just miserable, and then all of a sudden you get that fish, and all of a sudden
High five and all over.
high five, and you can't stop talking. No one's shutting up. So yeah, it's just it's hard to beat. I've tried fishing for pretty much everything else in Ontario, and you catch them, and it's exciting. But
What do you got in front of you? Actually, I just realized you got all the baits, and we haven't even.
Yeah, so
you brought the Rover, obviously.
the Rover with the blade.
Yeah.
And then this is my favorite topwater lure, the Fat Bastard.
The Fat Bastard, yeah. I love the sound of that one.
This one,
It's
unfortunately,
got a great name and a great action.
Yes.
Pop, pop,
it's
pop,
like
pop, pop, pop.
something so soothing about hearing that plop, 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 plop in the water.
I
It's
agree,
just
yeah.
like- and then the adrenaline rush of a muskie hitting it off the top, just. And it's one of those things too. It's like if you've ever topwater bass fish,
Oh, yeah.
you have to wait to set that hook. So trying to do that with a muskie is
You
even
can't.
harder.
Yeah.
And I have pretty
You're-
quick reflexes. So as soon as I
Yeah.
hear that splash, I'm already setting the hook. So the first couple of times I lost fish, and I was just like, okay, settle in. And obviously with muskie fishing, you might not get another opportunity that day. So it's frustrating. But then when you finally get it, you're just like, that was so cool.
The best is, you almost see like they're coming up behind it, and you just sort of see that little wave of water coming towards the lure. I mean, that's so exciting.
It is.
So, and then the Datsun cheese curd.
Cheese curd, that's what that one's called?
Yeah,
Really?
so it's like one of the smaller ones they make. This is probably actually one of my favorite bucktails.
Is that right? That's an up north bait, though, I'm guessing?
Kawarthas, I actually caught a bunch last summer on Lake St. Clair too, like Stony Point area and Mitchell's Bay area.
I was surprised, actually. I know a couple of guys that troll bucktails in the fall, and I didn't really think that they were much of a fall bait.
Yeah, I've tried them in the fall but the problem is I can't get it to move slow enough. The blades just stop spinning and stuff like that. But I've heard of people catching on them, so I'm sure
I've seen a couple
if you
times.
put in enough time. But it's one of those things. It's like you want to stick with your confidence baits and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you got a tube there, and I've actually not thrown a tube before.
So this is
that what they call like the Red October or something like that?
So this is the Red October tube. I like the Gator Wolf ones. The Water Wolf Gator.
Now how do you
tubes.
fish that?
It's like a pull pause. So this is a shallow one. It's got the eyelet on the front.
Okay.
And I actually like that because it's got this crazy, just darting action.
Just because you're just kind of...
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. It has a mind of its own and wants to do its own thing. And it's probably been my most successful bait in the Kawarthas in North Bay.
Wow.
And black.
I know a few guys that throw them, but I've personally not ever thrown one. Do you have any in your box?
I do have one.
Do you? Have you got a fish on it?
I have not. I haven't thrown it yet. Oh. It's just sitting there looking pretty right now.
Like the other 688s?
Yeah. But it's one of the ones that I would think it would work in the fall at Lake St. Clair. And there's people who have caught on it, but
definitely. Yeah.
It just hasn't worked for me. Probably I don't put enough time in on it, but summertime, I basically don't even take that thing off.
Is that right? But in the Kawarthas though specifically.
Yeah, and North Bay, so like Nipissing, Nosbosing.
Is it weighted?
So you can actually get a couple different versions. This is the shallow one. This just happens to be the one that I like the most. But if I'm fishing like North Bay where you get the deeper drop-offs and stuff like that, then I'm usually switching to the mid. And so that one will have the eyelet on the top. And you can actually kind of jig that one as well. But yeah, I don't know.
Try it.
And I think something about the black, they just can't really tell what it is.
Yeah, maybe
so they either have to bite it or let it go by. So it's just been a very high success bait for me.
That's cool.
And it's one of the ones that you look at it, you're just like, how's that going to work? But tubes have just...
But it does.
Tubes have just worked for everything.
That's true. I mean, it
lake trout
made the bass industry. Right?
Yeah. Smallmouth bass.
You caught a lake trout on a tube?
Yeah, like ice fishing, we use probably like, I think they're 5 or 6 inch white tubes, and that's probably like the number one bait on Simcoe for the longest time there. And then up on Lac Seul and Vermilion, I went ice fishing up there for lake trout, and same thing. That white tube,
white tube through the ice.
Yeah. And then when you look at it vertically through the hole or whatever, you can kind of see why they like it. It just dances around like a bait fish. And then
I may have to try that this year.
The little tail flutters and everything. And yeah, it's just a fish catching machine. It's such a weird thing. You're like, it looks like a squid.
It does. It's very bizarre looking.
Yeah. And I know people use the Red Octobers for the really big lake trout up north too. Just never had the opportunity to try it.
I'm going to have to get one.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah, I got one because it's just known to catch bait or fish. So I was like, oh, might as well have one.
Might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would you do with your money? Going to need a new tackle box for all the tubes.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the opposite of Jeremy, where like I just kind of have my baits that I like. And, there was probably a time when I did collect a bit of lures. But now pretty simple.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have as many as you, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know, maybe I've got 100 or something. I don't know. But the truth is, I throw the same 5 over and over,
and that's
I just look at the rest and think, why do I have these?
Yeah, and a lot of time, like a lot of the baits will do the exact same thing as another one. So it's like you see all these people who have like 19 different rubber baits, and you're just like, they all kind of do the same. Granted, they do have their time and the place where one seems to be working better than the other, so it's not a bad idea to have multiple, but it's just. So
here's a question. Actually, this is going to put us on the spot here. So. If you could tell somebody who's going to go muskie fishing for the first time, and they're only going to be able to afford a bait, we'll call it the fall. Let's call it the fall.
Okay.
To dial it in, what are you going to send them fishing with?
Cisco
shad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Landry, big shout out there.
Yeah.
So I do that with my dad.
Are you the same?
And I give him the Sabile.
Okay.
The Sabile is another good one.
Just because I find it sits higher in the columns. So
yeah.
So there's less likely a chance I'm going to lose it. So, because my dad
I was just going to say,
so my dad likes
trust your dad with
real slow.
You give him like one of the really cheap plastics.
Yeah. Like he'd be one of the ideal people to look at how slow he reels. And he's just one of those people that is just,
especially a beginner too. You want to give them something that's very easy to use.
Yes.
Just a straight retrieve.
There definitely is that, as opposed to having to have a, some kind of a cadence or whatever.
And that's like once you start kind of get more into it, like the cadence style baits are a lot more fun to fish.
I would say so. I asked you guys the question. I don't even know. I'm sure what my answer would be. I think when I first started, I would have said, because I got 2 on the Shadzilla my first time out, I would have probably said that. But now that I've fished other baits that I can fish a little slower, like the Rover or even a Restless Rider, a shallow one,
another good choice.
Shout out to Kyle and those guys. I mean, that's been a great bait for me the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I might send him out with a rider, to be honest with you. A shallow, either a black and orange or a lemon tail, probably.
It's a good staple.
Yeah.
They've just been working for year after year after year.
I don't know. They just...
And they catch big ones too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of ones that they do catch, they're usually like 45, 46.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Poseidons is another good one.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what? I do have a few in my box, but I have caught far less on the Poseidons than I have on some of the other ones. I don't know
I'm
why.
in the same boat. I have a buddy he's caught in so many on the Poseidon, but that's kind of all he throws. And
well, I guess it's like anything, if you put in the time.
yeah, and I don't know, maybe that style bait just aligns with his cadence a little bit better. So sometimes I think that's what it is too. Like we all reel a little bit different than each other, and some of these baits might cater to our own cadence.
Well, if we were going to give advice to somebody that was going to get into muskie fishing, what's the piece of advice you give them? And I just say, I'm just looking, I see we're kind of winding up on time there. So I think if we want to get somebody interested in trying muskie fishing, what's the advice you're going to give them?
Patience.
Yeah, well,
patience, and don't beat yourself up.
Yeah,
like it will happen. Like I always say to like some people, like, oh, it's been like 4 or 5 days since I got one. I'm like, it'll happen. Just patience, stick with it, and it'll happen.
And it might even be longer than that. Like there's people who go months without.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, there was a guy at Lighthouse. I don't know if you were there today, and he said he'd been fishing there for 2 years or something. He'd never caught a muskie, and he caught his first one, and he was so excited.
Yeah,
I thought, like, good for you for putting up with it for that long.
Well, that's makes it exciting too to see someone succeed finally after putting in all that time. And like we had a buddy too who came out all summer long, didn't catch one, watched us catch fish. And
he started losing it.
Yeah, and he'd gone out maybe 20, 30 times, and then also in the fall, that day that we had the 21 muskie day, he catches one.
That's just sick.
Yeah, and I'm like, the floodgates are open. Well, they were. He ended up catching, by the end of that week, he had 15 muskies.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was just like, when I said the floodgates were open, I wasn't expecting that.
That's another level. Like, that's not typical.
No. But he had put in the time, right? So he was rewarded for it.
I think my advice would be similar to yours, just not give up, because when you're fishing so many other species, bass or something else, you're probably bound to get one fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And you definitely can't get flustered. I mean, I was flustered after, those 2 months of getting skunked after my initial first catch. I don't think I would have liked it as much if I had been skunked for the 2 months before I got a catch. But you do have to stick with it. You probably just need to, take a lot of advice would probably be my advice.
I was about to say that
listen
too.
To everybody that watch what they're doing, like watch the cadence, watch how fast they're reeling it in, how they're casting, what they're doing. And
if you
just
see
be
someone
patient.
catch a muskie, just watch what they're doing and try to replicate it. And then just talk to people. Like that's the one cool thing about the muskie community is everyone's pretty much open to.
Yeah. Do you find the same up north? Like, or do you find that you probably don't have the crowds like you do like at Lighthouse?
You definitely don't have the crowds, but yeah, like when you're launching the boat, you'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh yeah, we were getting them here. This is what we were using. So it's kind of like, I'm sure you'll get people who kind of keep stuff hush hush. And there's certain things that I'll probably, like if I'm fishing that lake again the next day, I'm not going to say.
You're not going to give out your honey hole. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Or kind of where I'm going, so I don't have to deal with the boat traffic. But like if I'm leaving that day, I'll be like, oh, we were here, do that type thing. And then other advice I'd be just YouTube's a great way to learn. So there's tons of people on YouTube you could watch and learn from them.
Tons of great content. Yeah.
Yeah, but stick to the areas that you're fishing, because some of the stuff you'll watch on YouTube won't necessarily apply to the fisheries you're fishing.
I always said that you always have to be a special person to be a muskie fisherman.
You got to be a bit of a fruitcake.
Yeah, because where else do you go
You're just
out
a little bit nuts.
and
I mean, to be
spend
honest with
all
you,
that time and fail and fail and fail and fail?
Yeah.
Like, people can't take that.
It's true.
Where the ones that do succeed and stick it out and stuff like that, like, they're a special person.
Yeah.
Almost every place that I buy baits from, we start talking about baits, and they're just like, all you muskie guys are like, you're all nuts. And I don't know why they say that, but I guess it's, I don't know.
Some people just can't deal with the not catching.
I guess
Right?
so.
It's
You have a friend that says, like, he started this year, and that's exactly what he said. He's like, I'm so used to catching fish, and I get so flustered if I don't catch it. And I'm like, but that's musky fishing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
It's either you deal with it or you get out of it.
No, well, very true.
I'm the opposite, where it's like I'll go out fishing for walleye or something. We're just hammering on them, like, oh, this was fun, but I'm kind of getting bored of this. I want something big. I want that adrenaline dump. It's if you're a musky guy, you're a musky guy or girl.
Yep. It's nice to see actually some
Yes.
women getting into it. There's a couple of regulars that I see down there that do that. So
There's quite a few. There's a bunch that I follow on Instagram that they're hammers. Like, they catch more muskie than me. Sure, they probably live closer to some of the musky fisheries.
yeah, that helps for sure.
But yeah, they're just as good, if not better. Some of them, anyway.
Well, you heard it here first, right? If you're going to be a musky fisherman, don't give up, right?
Don't give up.
Patience is key. Take lots of advice.
Follow the moon phases.
Follow the moon phases, yes, according to Jeremy.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. So if you want to get into muskie, give it a shot. Thanks for joining me, guys. Today was great having
Thanks
you.
for having
I hope you
us.
enjoyed it. It was really nice to talk a little bit of muskie. I can't
it's
wait for
fun.
the opener.
Oh man, I'm dying. Like,
Yeah.
that trip to New Jersey just kind of whet the appetite.
Yeah, I bet it did. Yeah. You caught enough last year. I don't think you had to worry about it.
Oh,
But
I had to start early this year to kind of catch up to that number.
yeah. Well, anyways, thank you guys for coming. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on Just Fishing.